Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today is your city administrator, Chad Brecklin. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excited because we had
Really?
some significant news recently.
Yeah?
Of some road construction that completed.
All right.
On a very a long timeline because there were a lot of phases, a lot of planning, but the Syene Road project is what I'm discussing here or talking about.
Yeah.
It opened recently, and we had a ribbon cutting. Depending when you're watching this, we're about to have a ribbon cutting if you're watching after the ribbon cutting. But what a great example of taking what was an urban kind of roadway and really developing it into a nice street with great infrastructure, safety in mind, and everything else in between. Literally everything else in between.
Yeah.
It's got roundabouts, it's got lights,
Right.
it's got a pond.
Yeah, so this has been a bit of a long haul on this project overall, and we certainly want to acknowledge the patience of our residents and motorists, pedestrians, and bicycles who use this entire stretch from Irish Lane all the way to McCoy Road. We've been doing something on Syene Road between that section, I think each of the last 4 or 5 summers, with maybe a summer off in there as we were planning a big project. So really, truly appreciate the patience that folks have utilized as we've done this resurfacing and in this case, reconstructing an entire stretch of roadway here. So also hats off to our engineering and public works teams for helping coordinate this particular project as well. Because to your point, Jeremy, I do think that this project has turned out quite nicely. It did go from, when we talk about a section of road from Lacey Road all the way to McCoy Road, that was a rural road that was, serving the city of Fitchburg for quite some time on our eastern side of the city as one of the major north-south thoroughfares, if you will. And clearly, as the city has grown on its east side over the last, 10, 15 years in particular, a rural road was not well suited for the amount of traffic and bicyclists, pedestrians, crossings, and all of those things that is needed in today's transportation, transit, bicycling, and pedestrian world. So this last phase of the project was largely from East Sherrill to McCoy Road, and it has reopened as of November 7th. And for anybody who's had a chance to drive this road since it's reopened, they are seeing, an urbanized stretch of roadway that does, to your point, now include some roundabouts designed to better control traffic at intersections as well as slow traffic down through this stretch of road. It involves improved crossings with RRFBs, rapid reflective flashing beacon. And then there's speed display signs as well to help remind motorists of their speed, because as they come into this area, they may not fully recognize that this is a developed area with a high level of people and activities. So it's nice to remind them to slow down. And then, of course, we had the complete reconstruction of the intersection of Syene and McCoy Road, going from that sweeping curve to now a T intersection with a signalized intersection there. So overall, I think, personally speaking, it's a great project. It really transforms that roadway into an urban roadway. It increases the safety for all roadway users there, and I'm really excited that it is finally complete.
It really is the epitome of safety. Like I look at that and I'm like, man, there's just the enhancements in the safety front are just pretty nice, and it's really nice. So I mean, like you said, it's a great job overall with everybody involved, and patience is virtue. Paid off. We got a road.
Right.
It's nice.
Right. It'd be interesting to see the before and after photos of this, and I'm assuming they exist somewhere. But the transformation is quite significant. And this, I also do want to point out that this was a partnership with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. They took the lead on that reconstruction of the Syene and McCoy intersection specifically, and they also provided some grant funding to that particular project, which helped obviously reduce the overall financial cost to the city of Fitchburg taxpayers at the local side of things.
Yeah, I take that route every day coming in, and every day I notice something new about just that how it turned out. And like I said, it's very nice. So definitely check it out when you have a chance, or just take a stroll down down the sidewalks there. It's really nice. Over to budget. We just had our annual budget adoption, if you will, that passed on November 11th of 2025. What comments would you have on this year's budget?
Well, we were able to pass operating budget for 2026, and I think that overall this budget process was rather smooth, to be honest with you. We have, I think it was approximately $33 million is what the budget was that was ultimately passed, and the operating budget funds your day-to-day operations for the city. It's mostly, 75 to 80% of that funding is for our city staff, the people who actually do the work to provide services to our community. It also covers the day-to-day operating supplies as well, things like roadway maintenance, gasoline, or other ways to power our emergency and public safety vehicles. Our parks operations, our library operations, senior center, take your pick. It's the people and the things that our people need in order to carry out their day-to-day service provision to our community. And as we did every year, that process kicks off in midsummer, where department heads go through their budgets and make budget submissions that are then reviewed by finance and administration. There's also meetings that take place between city staff members to go over those budget requests. And then, of course, the mayor is also included at a multitude of steps along the way. She has an opportunity to not only review the budget, but also meet with city staff to learn more about their requests, offer her questions, thoughts, feedback, and so forth. And then ultimately the mayor works with finance and administration to draft a budget that aligns with the mayor's priorities and ideally the community's priorities. And in this particular budget, the mayor focused heavily on public safety. From a public safety perspective, there's operating costs associated with the new police facility. There was an increase in the paid on-call hourly rate for our firefighters. There was an increase in the amount of EMS coverage that will be available. And then there's also a reclassification of an existing firefighter to a lieutenant within the department. So I think I covered largely the public safety things. And then, of course, the mayor and common council, one of their main priorities is housing and housing supply and trying to find ways to make housing more attainable and affordable for all. So there's clearly some things within this budget that will allow the city to continue to try to make some headway, so to speak, on that. And a large portion of this budget, or the funding for those sorts of activities, again, is coming from this affordable housing fund that was created not with tax dollars, but with the closure of successful tax increment districts that were developed and have since closed. And then, of course, the mayor was supportive of our city employees, maintaining existing city-provided benefits, providing a 2% cost of living, and ultimately preserving most, if not all, of the services that are currently provided by the city for its residents. It's no small feat to be able to do what the mayor was able to do with this budget, but I think it's a testament to how much time and energy and effort that she expends putting this budget in, working with city staff and the other elected officials.
Now, you may not have the numbers here, so we will pull this if you have it. But ultimately, on the taxpayer side of things, if somebody is asking you, what does this mean for as a taxpayer moving forward, what would you tell them?
That is an absolutely great question, Jeremy. And it was discussed at the Common Council meeting that the increase for the Fitchburg share of the property tax bill, and I will remind your viewers that the Fitchburg share of a property tax bill is about 1/3 of the total bill. The average assessed single-family home right now is just over $500,000 in the city of Fitchburg, and I believe the increase in property taxes is $83 for the city portion of the tax bill from 2025 to 2026, which is right about 3%. It is important to note that if you take a look at the city portion of your tax bill over the last 7 or 8 years, the city portion of the tax bill has increased approximately $200 to $250 on that average assessed single-family house. And when we look at that in comparison to the cost of goods, materials, and staffing over that time period, it becomes very evident that the increase in the city portion of the tax bill has not stayed with the overall cost. It's not commensurate with that. Granted, I'll admit my bias here, but I do believe that when we're talking about a little over $200 a month for city services, it is a good value. I know when we all see property tax bills, we're never thrilled to pay those. But if we take a step back and we look at for $200, a bit more than $200 a month, which in a lot of cases, if you're a family on a cell phone plan, it's right around $200 a month to provide 4 or 5 cell phones in a household. You're getting police, fire, EMS, highway maintenance, streets plowing, park mowing and maintenance. You're getting senior center services, library service, recreational service, and a whole host of other services that are being provided. And I know not everybody uses those services, but our role as government is to provide those services to our community so that if you choose to use them or if you need to use them, they are available for people to use. So by and large, I do think this is really a good value for our taxpayers.
And then finally, just looking post the failed referendum and kind of looking at this budget, it's a tough budget. And I think we get a lot of questions like, what are you doing to pull back? What are you doing to... so for people maybe want to understand even more, and I'm not asking you to go way deep into the weeds here, but certainly you've offered to answer any questions, and the door is open to talk to Brecklin anytime.
Sure, absolutely.
But for people to understand that too, because of that result, how did that affect for all the departments and putting this budget and bringing it forward? Because literally, I mean, you couldn't really bring a lot forward, so to speak.
No. There is very little new things funded with the levy on this particular budget. There was the ability through utility rates to add a water utility position full-time for utility maintenance. We are bringing on a new well and a new water tower, and therefore, because of that increase in work, that will lead to a more robust water system for our community. There was a need to bring in some additional staff to help maintain and operate those new systems. And then, of course, there was a half-time billing clerk in the water utility department as well. So again, with the growth of the city, there are more and more accounts to add. We added an LTE in our parks department to assist with summer-related activities. There was the fire department reclass and the paid on-call rate increase, but to my recollection, those are kind of the biggest things that were really added in this. And in most situations, departments came forward with pretty much a flat budget. Our department heads are very responsible. They heeded the messaging that had been taking place about how tight the margins are, so to speak, for us, and they really took time to go through their budgets and look at them and submit for what they believe is needed to operate the city. And I'll admit, as an administrator, with our admin team and our finance team, we went through all of the requests across the board, and not every request was funded. And I'm sure as a department head, you can recognize that, there were things that you had felt that were important to add that were not able to be added. And every single department had those. There were departments that might have increased, an account for vehicle maintenance, for instance, and, they may have been granted half of that request and so forth. Or there were accounts to add, perhaps a software service or whatever the case may be that were not granted. So we really do take a a line-by-line look at all of the budgetary items that are submitted. And again, I'll reiterate, as I said earlier in the conversation, that the operating budget is mostly people.
Right.
You know, that is the biggest expense in providing the services, because obviously it takes the people to actually provide the services. So, you know, but where we can take a look at things, we will always do that. Maybe a topic for a future conversation is some of the restructuring that's taken place within the city after the referendum that did not pass, as further evidence of how seriously we take our roles here to be good financial stewards of taxpayer money and take a critical look at where that money is being spent. And we've been doing that for quite some time, and we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, no, and that's why we have you here on the show to break it down. So, and I mentioned it during the interview, and I say it again. If you have any questions for the budget, any in general, I mean, you've said many times, I've sat here and heard you say it. You know, give you a call, send you an email.
Yeah.
You're happy to answer questions to help. You know, with any questions you might have.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not an expert in all the things that the city does. We have great department heads, a great team of employees. If I can't answer that question, I can certainly get you pointed and connected to the person that can.
All right, Chad, appreciate the time as always. We'll check back in next month to end the year already. Wow.
Thank you.